sexy people of the internet. Today we are doing volume 2 of our Hubcap John series of effects pedals. You may recall that in the previous episode, we looked at 2 incredible pedals. We had one fuzz pedal and one overdrive. If you still haven't seen that video, what the hell's wrong with you? Go on and click here. But that's the past, and this is the present. So what we're going to look at today is firstly, the Fallen Angel. And secondly, we're going to look at Lakeshore Drive. With a name like that, I think it's only fair to start with the Fallen Angel. The Fallen Angel is a heavenly or heavily modified Rangemaster. The original pedals, if you remember, were famously used by everyone from Eric Clapton, Brian May, Billy Gibbons. However, if we've learnt anything from the previous video, it's not a simple clone. This pedal has the special Hubcap John magic in it, and essentially what you get in addition to your sort of usual controls is also an EQ switch, which works in conjunction with the range switch to add a higher value capacitor in the range knob, and then you can sweep the range between the values. Before we plug in, remember, these are handmade custom pedals. So we obviously also need to look at the construction of the pedal and the general layout. As you can see, the size is a very standard shape, your normal Boss pedal, if anything, slightly smaller. The construction is really solid as per the previous pedals. You can hit people on the head with this and it won't break. Please don't do that. You can see the beautiful detail of the artwork on the front showing the Fallen Angel, as the name suggests. And overall, it's very, very well built. In terms of the layout, you have your input for the guitar, your standard Boss type 9-volt wall plug, and your output. You have 3 main controls: a boost, a heat, and a range. I think it's pretty self-explanatory kind of what they do. And then you have that wonderful EQ section that I was mentioning. That's really it. It's a very simple pedal on the outside, but all the magic actually happens on the inside. So let's not waste any more time. Let's plug this bad boy in and see what it sounds like. Just before we do that, please remember, yes, Hubcap John did send me all these pedals to try out, but all thoughts are my own. And 2, there's no monkey business with the sound quality. There's no post effects, no EQing afterwards, no magical sauce that is added in post-production. This is what the pedals sound like, if you like them or if you don't. Okay, so here we are. I'm all plugged in, got my earphones on. We are ready to go. In terms of the signal chain, much the same as last video, but with a different guitar. I've got this incredibly beautiful SL guitars, LP style, and from here, I'm going straight into the Fallen Angel. From there, as usual, into the UAFX Dream 65, because as I said before, it takes pedals really well and sounds great overall. Okay, so this is my clean sound just through the UAFX Dream 65. The individual dials do on the Fallen Angel. So let's switch it on and start with the boost. just by having everything at 12 o'clock except for the boost, which basically is the volume, you can hear that it's already making a noticeable difference on the high-end frequencies. Let's now move on to the heat and see what that does. And now let's turn that range knob. So all of that was just in the middle position of the EQ switch. Now let's play around with that and see what happens. First of all, let's bring these crazy levels back down a little bit. Just remember, this is supposed to work in conjunction with the range knob. So let's see what difference that makes. So sweeping the range with the middle. Sweeping with the top. You see, that's a substantial difference. As much as I would love to play Fallen Angel all day long, well, we've got to move on to the second and final pedal. And this is a Lakeshore Drive overdrive pedal. The Lakeshore is based on a blues breaker style drive, and as always, is modified with an extra bit of magic. Again, in addition to your kind of standard and boring controls of tone, volume, and gain, you get these two little switches. The first one here is essentially a gain switch, so you go from mid to high. The second one is a clipping switch. In the center, you have no clipping diodes. On the left, you have LED, and on the right, you have a 1N4148 diode. So all of this gives you different options and different sounds. Looking at the construction and layout, incredibly beautiful graphics. Truly, truly stunning. We have exactly the same as before. Wall plug in, out. Very simple. Construction, just as before, very solid. Let's get rid of that angel and plug this one in. Okay, the Lakeshore drive is now plugged in, and just to remind you, this is the basic clean tone we're using in the UAFX Stream 65. First of all, let's look at the tone all the way off. Then we have the volume, although that's pretty self-explanatory. And let's move on to the gain. Let's just try it with a single coil by splitting the humbucker. On a really low gain setting like now, you can tell that it just pumps everything up and gives already a different flavor. Let's put the gain up a little bit. Wow, couple things to note here. 1, I'm just on the mid gain clip. 2, I'm in the middle of the diode clipping settings. So let's check out, first of all, how hard this thing can rock by lifting that switch to high. Let me just take a breather. That was out of this world. That was so much fun. Who the hell knew it had so much crazy, out of this world, fuzzy, beautiful distortion? Wow, okay, let's tame it slightly and now listen to the different positions of the diode clipping. Okay, so we're currently in the middle position. Let's just bring the gain down a little bit. We're in the middle now. Left. Right. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed those sound samples and also some of the jams that you heard during the video, which was using the Lakeshore Drive and the Fallen Angel respectively. So I think what we need to do now is, as always with my videos, start kind of bringing it all together and wrapping things up. We will talk about these two pedals, who they're for, then we'll move on to some pros and cons as usual, and finally, what I think about it and my final thoughts. So starting with who these pedals are for. I think they both are similar in the intent and the fact that these pedals aren't high gain distortion pedals. If we start with the Fallen Angel, this pedal I feel is ideal for someone who really craves that original sound and that already has an amp sound that they're happy with, but kind of wants to break through it a little bit and make it slightly more exciting, maybe with a slightly lower gain amp like the one that I'm using today. This does magic, because what this does is just makes it a little more cutting. If you're recording with this, it will make you cut through. And that's one of the things that I found was particularly fascinating when doing some in the mix tunes with this pedal. It cut through so well. I was using all the same gear and it just made the guitar stand out. It brought it out of general muddiness of the drums and the bass guitar. So really good if you are recording or even in a live scenario, you can put it on for a solo. I feel you have enough gain just to boost things up a little bit and it will give you that top end sparkle. Very versatile both for recording and as well live playing. Moving on to the beautiful Lakeshore Drive pedal. Who should get this? Well, I think this one differs slightly from the Fallen Angel in the sense that this pedal is capable of giving you a blues breaker flavor to whatever amp you're using, and it does it really well. It gives you enough gain, plenty of gain, as you've seen in the video, to kind of go in places that maybe you didn't expect your Fender style clean amp to go, and fuzz the hell out and just enjoy making creative music. So this pedal works very well in the studio, but I can see it as being a great tool for a live show or a rehearsal if you are going into a clean amp or you don't want to use whatever amp there is existing in the venue. This actually gives you that very good blues breaker tone, really adds almost another channel to whatever amp you're using. So if you're into that blues breaker distortion, this is for you. Okay, now it's time for my pros and cons, and as I'm a very nice person, let's always start with the pros. The pros for the Fallen Angel are very clear. First of all, the attention to detail of this pedal is incredible. It looks beautiful, very good construction, and an added little bonus of the EQ switch, which on a pedal this simple, which was born as a very simple pedal, makes a really big difference. My second pro of the Fallen Angel has to be the sound. This is a very subtle pedal. It's a pedal that really makes you stand out, and it's a pedal that is very different from all the kind of modern pedals. But what this pedal adds to your sound is really an aggressive high end that you often, especially on modelers, especially on modern high gain amps or plugins, you lose. It all becomes mushy. There's no note separation. The way that it cleans up in conjunction with the guitar and the way that you can still hear all the individual strings and notes being played, for example, in a chord, is incredible. So a massive pro for me. My final pro on the Fallen Angel has to be also the way it's been designed. Simply the fact that it's not just a Rangemaster copy, but it has that additional aspect with the EQ that makes it slightly more user-friendly and slightly more versatile with the guitars that you pair it with and what music you play. It does everything in a very subtle way, but in a way that you can hear it and it's clear and dynamic. Moving on to the cons, the only thing I could possibly see as someone having to consider before buying this pedal is simply both the nature of the pedal, i.e. do you like that Rangemaster sound? Have you done your research and do you know what this pedal is supposed to be? And also maybe the fact that it's a pedal that does things in a different way to what modern distortion or overdrive pedals do. And so you need to maybe find the balance, you need to play around with it and set it up right in order to get the best out of it. So if you're someone that doesn't want to find that sweet spot and just put everything in the middle, switch it on, maybe you're not going to get the most out of this. Now moving on to the mighty Lakeshore Drive. This one is really different from the Fallen Angel. As I said, this is a Bluesbreaker Drive inspired pedal that gives you a shitloads amount of gain on tap. Again, it's not the gain that you'll play Norwegian death metal in a forest with. It's a Bluesbreaker type gain, so if you like it, you like it. If you don't, move on. In terms of pro, this time I'm gonna start with the sound because the sound of this is what really blew me away. An amazing sound. When you put everything just dined up, so crazy. The notes went on for ages. They just completely lost control, and that's what a really good drive pedal of that style does. It just gives you that freedom to experiment and play around with it. Second pro, I've got to say, it has to be the versatility of this pedal. What you have here is not only all the three controls that work in conjunction with each other, because that's a very important thing, but you also have three different dial clipping settings, which makes a massive difference on your sound. So you've got a lot here. And then mid, high gain, very, very complete pedal. It gives you all the tools you need in order to get whatever sound you like. And if you need to pump it up, or if you need to do a special, or if you need to do a higher or lower part on whatever song or tune you're working on, you've got everything there. My third and final pro for the Lakeshore Drive, well, it's a simple one. It doesn't cover the sound of your guitar. It doesn't make all your guitar sound the same. It is very transparent. It lets your guitar breathe. It lets the notes breathe. It has the right amount of sponginess when you're playing it, so it feels great. But most importantly, it has a character that doesn't overshadow the actual sound. Now, for what it's worth, all that's left to do is for me to give you my final thoughts. I'll talk about them both combined as an experience, and I think a lot of the things I'm going to say are also applicable to the two previous pedals that I've reviewed. I think generally there's a lot of players that aren't really into guitar pedals because obviously technology, as we always say, has moved on so much that maybe it feels like an added bonus or not an essential part of someone's sound. We have all the modelers, all the multi-effects, all the Kempers, Axe-FXs, etc. And they do all these things and they do them really, really well. And I've played a lot of them. I've played a hell of a load of pedals, ranging from the Behringer cheap ones that you can see on my wall behind to, you know, the super kind of limited edition Boss pedals. But there are a few things that have really become apparent after playing these custom handmade pedals. Firstly, there's no way to get around this. Quality does pay off. And when you use the best components, when you use the best know-how, and when I say quality, I don't mean just the physical stuff, also what's in the brain and the heart, then it does pay off because there's a different sound. I'm not going to say better or worse because it's something that everyone has different tastes, so you may like it, you may not, but it definitely reacts and gives you a different feeling to when you play something with slightly inferior components and know-how. Secondly, and probably the most important and surprising thing I've learned in these two videos with the Hubcap John pedals is that there's only very, very few things in life that give or can transmit emotions and can give actual joy to what someone is doing. And without sounding too hippie or too whatever, my personal experience of these pedals has been of pure joy. I wanted to play more because I wanted to discover where else they could bring me. I wanted to discover new sounds. They didn't limit me in any way, which, you know, I've said it before, a lot of pedals and a lot of plugins, etc. do. they only do one thing and they kind of put you in a box and they expect you to play in a certain way. These didn't. So I think that's a really essential point. These pedals make you take risks and just use them in a way that you would use your guitar or your amp. So as an essential part of your rig. In terms of sounds, all 4 pedals that I reviewed had very different sounds. They came from different places. They were based on different original pedals. But a few common points across all of them were definitely that they didn't cover whatever instrument or amp that you were using. So they didn't cover that sound and give you a different sound, but they just added to it. And that's a very, very subtle distinction, but it's an important one, I feel. Secondly, note separation. And that for me is the biggest and missing link in most modelers, most plugins, most digital gear. Everything gets squished because of whatever compression is happening. When you play a chord, especially with a little bit of distortion, it just blends into one. With all of these pedals, but the Fallen Angel and especially the Lakeshore Drive had something very, very special in how each individual note that you were playing on the different strings rang true to itself. So as if you were plucking just that one chord. And that is something that, based on my experience, is very difficult to find. To sum it up, I kind of feel both honored to have had the chance to try these pedals out, and definitely also been a very, very big learning experience. And as a bit of culture, I'm very glad that I've had the opportunity to come across Hubcap John and his pedals. Look, from a purely technical point of view, all I can see is when I open these pedals up, they were amazing. I've never seen such love and passion put into a guitar product, quite frankly. I just find that the whole vibe of these pedals, it's very honest, it's very artistic. These pedals are made because there's a general love for those sounds. Whether people buy them, whether they don't, that's what art is, and these are a real masterpiece. So I think you get by my romantic rant that I kind of like these pedals. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor, go down in the link below and check out the link to Hubcap John's Reverb store, his website, because you'll find plenty of cool stuff there. And also get in touch with him on social media. I'll put all the links below because he will be able to give you loads of advice, important information about his pedals as well. So let's end the show with our usual. Thank you so much all for watching. I really do appreciate it. Keep watching because there's a new series coming up of 2 really cool guitars. You don't want to miss that. Remember, please be nice to each other. There's so many horrible things going in the world. There's no need for that. Let's just enjoy whatever time we have and play guitar. See you later, guys.